What is going on, ladies and gentlemen of the tribe, and welcome back to another video with me, your bald-headed boy Scribe. How the devil are we all doing? Today, ladies and gentlemen, I have got a task, a challenge to talk to you about what could potentially be the best new free-to-play start within Raid Shadow Legends. Let's talk a little bit about it. Alright, so a little bit of a forward before we begin. Ladies and gentlemen, if you wish to accompany me on a journey of starting this brand new account, you will have to do it with a new profile, a brand new account on new devices. If you are on the PC, all you have to do is sign out of your Plarium account, create a new account with a new email address, and then download the game through my QR code, which is going to be like up there, or by using the link in the description down below, pinned in the very first comment as well. So what's a little bit different about this one? Well, as you know, when I did my tournament, I started off with my code and it used Tholin Foulbeard as the very first legendary unit that I got, and I am not disappointed in that whatsoever. This guy is still an absolute beast. This new code is slightly different. You do get a completely different unit, and we're going to take a look at him today. So heading over to our index, not champions, I don't have him right now. We are going over to the Sylvan Watchers, ladies and gentlemen, because this time we will be able to get Grand Oak Porrick. Okay, so I mean, I had a lot of fun looking up about this. Being a Brit myself and seeing everybody calling him Grand Oak Pardraig, I get it, I understand it. You know, phonetically, that's probably how you would read it. It obviously stems from the Irish for the original Patrick, Porrick, Podrick. You know, there's a dozen different ways you can pronounce this. I have a colleague at work who's called Porrick, and that's how he introduces himself, and he is in fact Irish, but we'll call him whatever we want. I'm going to go with Porrick because it helps me with my colleague. I don't want to keep on mispronouncing his name. Anyway, this individual here, this legendary support unit, is apparently one of the better legendary support units that we can get in the game. An absolute dope unit to have from day one. Literally, as soon as you sign in, you beat the tutorial, you will have this unit right in your inbox. So before we go, all you'd have to do, log into the game, check your inbox over here, and he'll just be chilling. He'll just be chilling right here, right now, and you can immediately start using him. So, I keep on clicking on champions instead of index. Let's go back to Grand Oak Porrick. Alright, let's go find him. Oh, don't go too far. So what can Porrick do? Let's have a look. His basic over here is Snake Root. Attacks one enemy, has a 25% chance of decreasing the cooldown of a random ally's active skill by 2 turns. That's actually incredible. Being able to decrease cooldowns on your allies by 2 is huge. Now, it is random, and it's not 100% chance. If you do book this guy up to level 5 on his basic, that is going to turn into, what, a 50% chance, which is really not so bad. I feel like if you've got any ally attackers in your squad alongside him, calling him to assist means you've got more chances at decreasing cooldowns in your team. Sounds like a really strong opener for a basic ability. Then we have got our ability 2, which is Word Spores. Teams up with all allies to attack a single enemy. The allies joining the attack will use their default skills. Also, fully restores all allies destroyed maximum hit point and places a 15% continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. This starts off with a 6-turn cooldown. Once you've booked it up to level 3, this is nice. It's only got 2 additional levels on it, so booking him might be a little bit easier. You turn that down into a 4-turn cooldown. Now, I'm not certain, based on the text here, if he actually calls himself to assist with this. I think it does, which means he's got a chance, therefore, to reduce the cooldowns on a random ally's abilities, or at least its active skill. This makes me wonder if you can actually decrease his own cooldowns, potentially. Then we've got Inspiring Rhythm on his ability 3. Fills the turn meter of all allies by 20%. Then removes all debuffs from all allies and places a 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns. This also has a 5-turn cooldown, and once again, once you book him with that 2 additional books, you will be able to get this down to a 3-turn cooldown, which is actually significant. Getting 20% turn meter is always going to be a good thing for all allies, but also operates as a mass cleanse and increased speed, which I believe gives you, oh well, it says right there, 30% increased speed, which is rather huge. He does have an active ability over here, not an active ability, sorry, a passive ability over here. At the start of this champion's turn, place a buff on each ally for 1 turn depending on their type. Attackers are getting a 50% increased attack buff, defenders are getting a 60% increased defense buff, and support units like himself are gaining a 50% increased accuracy buff, which is great because it helps you land all sorts of debuffs. Finally, HP units are going to get a shield buff equal to 30% of their maximum hit points. That sounds incredible with someone like, I don't know, Pelops? Want to give him an additional shield buff? I think so. Now, Grand Oak Porrick also has an aura that increases the allies' speed in dungeons by 25%, which is a nice aura. Like, speed is kind of king in these turn meter based games because the more turns you take, generally speaking, the more likely you are to outstrip the opponent's damage output and keep your allies alive through various support effects. So already, this guy is freaking dope. Absolutely incredible as far as a support unit. Now, not only that, if you are signing up with this brand new account, you are going to be getting additional champions as you level up, okay? And I'm talking about your account level up here. I'm just about to hit level 51, but there are going to be additional champions that you get at level 10, 20, and 30. Let's talk a little bit about them. Once you hit level 10, you are going to be getting the epic unit Stag Knight. This is another support unit. This guy is brilliant. I still use him on my main account over here. You can see that I've got a maximum ascended, all level 70, level 60 at the moment. He's a really, really solid unit. Let's take a look at his skills. First of all, his A1, his basic ability, Spot Quarry, attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 30% chance of placing a decreased speed of 30% debuff for 2 turns. Damage is based on his attack. So already we've got decreased speed. Now don't forget, with Grand Oak Porrick, you're able to get increased speed, so you're creating a widening of the jaws, as it were. So you are becoming faster, the enemy is becoming slower. Really not so bad. Don't forget as well, Grand Oak Porrick, when he takes turns, he's going to be passing buffs to his allies. Support types are getting increased accuracy of 50%, which means you are more likely to apply this debuff. Not a bad thing. His A2 then, Huntmaster, attacks all enemies, has a 70% chance, at least that's where mine is at level 5, of placing a 60% decreased defense on the enemies and a decreased attack as well. Okay, so you're getting a double debuff on the enemy, decreased defense and decreased attack. AoE as well. I love this in loads of the dungeons, in particular on things like Spider. Really, really useful. Decrease the incoming damage. Very, very handy to have. Don't forget, once you apply all the additional books on this, so I wouldn't say he's like a massively high priority book unit, but it would be useful. With Porrick, giving him increased accuracy, far more likely. Also very useful in raid bosses, clan bosses, that sort of thing. Keep you survivable. He does have an additional passive ability over here, places a 50% increased accuracy buff on an ally for 1 turn each time they have a debuff resisted by an enemy. So you are very likely to land debuffs with Stag Knight, and you will get him at level 10, alright? Next up is a unit that I don't actually have, so we're going to learn this one a little bit together. Once you hit level 20, you are going to be unlocking another epic support in Ugo. I've heard this guy is good, but let's take a look at him. His basic ability, or the A1, Black Hand, attacks one enemy with a 35% chance of placing a leech debuff on the enemy for 2 turns. This chance increases by 5% for each living enemy, and the damage increases with additional booking over there. I'm not even sure what leech does. I think it just is like a damage over time effect. Let's go and have a look. Any champion that attacks this champion with leech debuff heals for 18%. Oh, so it works as a lifesteal ability. That's very useful for keeping people alive. Already we can see, if you're having Grand Oak Porrick, you're throwing in Stag Knight, you're throwing in Ugo, this team is very, very survivable. Okay, so A2 then, Maelstrom Rack, attacks all enemies with a 75% chance of placing a 60% decreased debuff for 2 turns. Also has a 50% chance of placing a block buffs debuff for 2 turns. Very useful again. The chances of placing block buffs debuff increases by 5% for each living enemy. Attack is damage based on attack, so another 2 debuff, kind of similar to Stag Knight, AoE 2 debuffs. Yeah, we've got a little bit of doubling up on decreased defense, but that's okay. With the cooldowns and everything, you've probably got quite a good way of keeping that decreased defense up pretty much perpetually, right? And block buffs is fantastic. As you see, as it goes higher in the skills, you're able to get it down to a 3-turn cooldown. That would be kind of sick. And an additional 25% chance, which is kind of nice, because that means you've got a 100% chance of decreased defense, and you've got a 75% chance of block buffs. Pretty nifty. Okay, so A3 then. Ugo's Brew removes all heal reduction debuffs from all allies, then removes 1 random debuff from all allies, and heals all allies by 20% of this champion's hit points. If all allies are dead, revive them with 50% hit points, then fill their turn meters by 50% instead. That's kind of nifty. So you've got yourself an AoE reviver here. Does look like it's got a clause that all your allies must be dead, so you're going to want this guy to be fast and tanky. But also, if they're alive, you'll get rid of all of the heal reduction, you're able to remove random debuffs, which sounds like it could be quite useful in like Spider, for example, and then a nice AoE heal. Not bad at all. Passive effect then, Final Spite, places a 30% increased speed buff and block damage buff on this champion for 1 turn whenever this champion's last living ally is killed. So that really gives you the opportunity to get that big AoE revive off. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. And finally, when you hit level 30, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to be getting another epic support in Tagore. Now, I absolutely adore Tagore. This guy is dope. Love him. So this guy is a great healer. Great support unit overall. Let's take a look at his abilities. A1, the Magic Stick, attacks 1 enemy 2 times. Kind of useful in things like Fire Knight. Obviously, there are better choices for Fire Knight, but still, anything that does multiple hits, I will take. Place a 60% increased defense buff for 2 turns on the ally with the lowest current hit points. Not too bad. Then his special one, I love this ability, attack all enemies, place a 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns, then heals all allies by 15% of this champion's max hit points. Love to see it. Obviously, with the maximum book over here, you get it down to a 3-turn cooldown, so you're constantly giving yourself speed up. You're also healing all your allies by 15%. You really want to get Tagore to have as much maximum hit points as possible, so this heal does as much as it possibly can. Okay? Finally, his A3, Rise and Fight, revive all dead allies with 30% hit points and place a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns, equal to 20% of this champion's max hit points. Cooldown is 7 normally. If you book him out, it's going to go down to a cooldown of 5. Really useful to have AoE, Mass Revive, as well as a shield buff on all allies, so you can really keep them in the game. Ties once again back to his max hit points, so you really do want to push that hit points high. And then finally, he does have a passive ability, decrease the damage received by allies with 50% or less by 10%. So it keeps you in the game, really good for raid bosses. This guy just keeps you survivable in the long run. AoE heals, AoE revive, keeps people alive by letting them take less damage, which is really, really cool when they're getting a little bit low, and you've got increased speed on an AoE on his second ability, which is really, really huge. So together, overall, you've already got a team that is incredibly hard to kill. So over time, you will be able to power out. But what I will say is if you are going to go and do this, you want to be going in using the promo code RAID7, and that's going to give you Pelops. Pelops the Victor is just phenomenal. Such a powerful, powerful unit, and he will pair so well with Grand Oak Porrick, okay? Because Grand Oak Porrick is going to keep this guy alive, and this guy is basically just going to reflect all the damage back at the enemy. Really good in situations like going up against Spider, really good against anything in the dungeon clan bosses, most dungeons. You'll be able to go through all the way through Nightmare Campaign, probably with that duo over there. He's another guy that really benefits from max hit points. Let's take a look at his abilities though. Attack 1 enemy, 75% chance of placing a 50% decrease attack debuff for 2 turns. It cannot be resisted or blocked if the target is under HP burn debuff, okay? And that HP burn is something that he will apply passively. If we take a look at his Master of Gains, Master of Gains, he's down the gym. Gains. All right, so he is immune to stuns, HP burn, and petrification. Whenever an enemy attacks this champion, he has a 100% chance of placing an HP burn debuff on the enemy for 2 turns. The chance is decreased to 50% if this champion is under a decreased defense debuff, occurs once per enemy skill. Whenever an enemy attacks this champion, it also has a 50% chance of placing a petrification debuff, which just stuns them basically, for that enemy for 1 turn. This chance decreases to 25% if the champion is under a decreased defense debuff, once per enemy skill. So this will passively be applying that burn. You do want to have good accuracy on him. Max out his hit points, max out his accuracy as much as possible so that you've got the highest likelihood of landing that debuff. But it just makes for a really good ability. Then we've got his A2, Gogoa's Bays. Ignore 50% of the target's defense if they are under HP burn, which they will be all the time. Damage inflicted by this skill is increased by 10% for every turn remaining on any debuffs on this champion and the target, up to a 200% damage increase. If the damage inflicted by this skill is less than 50% of the target's maximum hit points, steal all the buffs from the target, stun the enemy for 2 turns. These effects cannot be resisted if they're under an HP burn debuff. Really, really cool. Really, really cool. So if you don't do more than 50% of their damage, you steal all their buffs and you stun them. And they can't be resisted if they got HP burn. It's awesome. And down here, you've got Victor's Bounty, okay? Place a 50% increase attack buff and Magma Shield buff on all allies for 2 turns. The value of Magma Shield is equal to 30% of this champion's maximum hit points. He will then taunt for 2 turns, which is great because you need them to hit him so that they get that HP burn effect. This is your best sort of opening move with Pelops. Apply that Victor's Bounty, give everybody a big chunky shield based on his max hit points, force the taunt so the enemy is constantly hitting them and applies the burn. You can see already how this will pair so well with someone like Grand Oak Porik, because you're going to be keeping him alive and the enemy's just going to burn themselves to death. Decrease the damage all allies received by 20% whilst this champion is not under decreased defense debuff. If there are multiple champions with this on the team, only one applies, right? It's really, really strong. This is like the highest priority for booking. I think if you are starting this account fresh, Pelops is the guy you want to try and focus books on first. And you really want to get this A3 maxed out for the additional shield and the lowered cooldowns, right? A cooldown of 3 on this ability with 30% shield, 50% shield. No, it is 30% shield. Ignore me. Is so key. It keeps you alive, keeps the whole team alive, and keeps the enemy burning themselves down. Overall, I think that this sort of account will be well placed to blitz all the way through the campaign, all the way up to Nightmare once you've got the things starred and you've got them ascended and you've got, you know, some good gear that you farm out of Dragon, get yourself some good HP sets, get some good accuracy sets, get some good speed sets. Those are going to be key. And I think you'll be well placed to absolutely dominate. All right, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, if you do want to give this a try, make sure that you do download on a brand new account using my QR code up here, or by using the link in the description down below, and let me know how you get on, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you all in the very next video. Peace out and big love.